This is Robert Merlacci, the MindShare Learning Report. We're here at ISTE 2013 in San Antonio, and I have the good fortune of having a MindShare Learning moment with the renowned Alan November, award-winning author and presenter, and recognized as one of the top 15 most influential people in EdTech. I am not worthy, but thank you so much for your 2 minutes of time.
It's all good. Good to catch up with you, Robert.
Well, I was intrigued by your keynote this afternoon, Who Owns the Learning theme. Let's perhaps talk about that and what's inspired you to do a whole talk on that.
Yeah. Well, another way to think about it is who's working harder in a classroom. And in the United States, something like 80% of teachers will say, I'm working harder. And they'll talk about students not being motivated. How do we motivate kids? But then you say who should work harder, and 80% will say kids should work harder. So there's a lot of agreement that the current system, not happening, could happen, should happen. So now the question is, how do we get kids to work harder? And I think if they own their learning, they'll take more responsibility and work harder. And owning the learning has to do with a passion for learning, not just getting an assignment, but taking responsibility for designing your own and contributing your work to the benefit of others. So it's not just an isolated, I own my learning, but we all own our learning, and we're all going to contribute to one another, creating content, tutorials, documenting learning, sharing with the world. So the ownership of learning individually is important, but the relationship of community is at least equally important.
That is fascinating. I love the notion. What do faculties of education need to do differently to transform and shift the perception of
faculties of education? Well, maybe the first thing, because I'm on a faculty of education.
Okay.
And
is that a good question?
Yeah, because they're not changed. Maybe the first thing is to ask the faculty, how do you learn? What's your best skill for learning? Is it reading a book? Is it memorization? What's your best skill? Everybody will tell you something, especially on faculty. And then you might show them DIGO, which is how to read on the internet, how to highlight and put notes on web pages and link it to other people doing similar scholarship. Well, a lot of faculty have never seen that. And when you show it to them, a whole bunch go, where did you learn that trick? That is a cool trick. So maybe one thing to do is just to help the faculty learn to learn. Later we can talk about how to teach their kids. But I don't mean to say this in a bad way, but I'm convinced a lot of faculty in the United States don't know how to learn in a digital world. They're great with paper.
Well, that's a great segue to Canada, because I'm not sure the same holds true. But you made some Canadian references in your presentation.
Oh, I love Canada.
What's your perspective? You've come up there and keynoted.
Sure.
Versus U.S.
First of all, Canadians are more global. I don't know if you know, 10% of Americans have passport.
I understand.
I don't know what it is in Canada, but I bet it's a lot more.
At least twice that.
Let's say. So Canadians are good with, we can't tell the world what to do. U.S. is not so good at that. And that's healthy. I think that's healthy. It's a weakness we have. And so Canadian sense of being connected to the world and valuing different perspectives, I think is a little bit stronger than in our democracy. And I also think the way teachers are valued, and this is relative, is higher in Canada than in the United States.
I sense that.
And I also think your finance system, which is more provincial than local real estate tax, is much more equitable. And your unions tend to do more with staff development than our unions, where things are unionized. So you add all that up, and it's a lot more fun for me to go to Canada than the United States. A lot more fun. I've been told that Students applying to be teachers in Canada sometimes come from a higher cohort of high school graduates than in the United States.
Okay.
Because our society doesn't really value teachers.
Right. Yeah, I know.
Canadian society has a better, I think, healthier value. And you add all that up, and it makes a difference. Then the use of technology, you know, Canada has a lot of innovation going. You can see that on the West Coast, around Vancouver, all kinds of software development, multimedia development. Around Toronto, you've got a lot of high tech. You know, for a relatively small country, even though you're resource rich, you've got a lot of value for engineering in Canada.
We do well. We've got a lot of pockets of innovation.
That's important.
Yeah, that's
important.
Well, appreciate your insights. And so you've got an event coming up?
I do. Building Learning Communities.
Yes.
Thank you.
A little plug.
Come to Boston in July last week at novemberlearning.com.
Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, Alan. That was Alan November, and this is Robert Merlacci of the MindShare Learning Report. And until next time, keep the learning curve steep.